So, now for planning and running your events, again, paperwork, as we've gone through, it's to do with your how do you run it from start to finish. So this is the flow chart that we use, and you can find this on our website too, on the community events and resources info library on our website. This is how you run it, an event from start to finish, but ensuring that you have a lead time. So if you're gonna run something really ideally we want you to submit 10 business days before your event. So 10 business days meaning Monday to Friday 9 to 5. Um, we don't work the weekends. So if you have something urgent to get approval for, ideally please do plan ahead, and ideally at least 10 business days ahead, because it does, especially during the beginning of semesters for the first 4 weeks, or at least, for semester one, even more so in February, where we get into the high gear, the very peak period for planning. So we do send out a reminder email to your club's email to make sure that you provide us as much time as possible about your event. And again, we'll also assess your application based on the level of information that you tell us. So if you exclude any information whatsoever, we might not account for that in your current approved RA. And if you do something that's not written in your RA, then your RA is void and you'll be liable for that risk. So just make sure that when you fill out your application, you tell us as much as information as possible to make sure that you're assessed correctly. And if you have to make any changes to your RA, you just got your risk assessment, just have to let us know and we can inform it. You don't need to submit a separate risk assessment to change to change the information entirely. You just let us know. And of course, please ensure to consider what kind of risk hazards that you have and put your initials in there too to manage and I guess inform us which person will manage this risk or if it has to be everyone else. Um, and yeah, because uh, we have peak periods. Make sure that you submit it early. We also have a flow chart, like an events planning flow chart for food and beverages as well, apart from this one. Um, so you can see here we submit 10 business days prior, and then you look out where are you running your event, whether it's on campus or off campus or in a community space. With the community space, this is slightly changing a bit because their team is restructuring, so it will now be under student events, which has only recently changed. But for the most part, a lot of the events, if say for example you're running things at the studio theater, that's now under venue hire office. If you type venue hire office UTAS, they'll pop up. The only thing that the student events right now are managing is the Hobart Apartments student hub, the one at the in Elizabeth Street. So you email student events. If you do email community.experience, it will automatically change to student events. But it's only for that venue. Everything else is under venue hire. And you can find the links to here through campus services or venue hire that will lead you into that. The same team that works at campus services is like the venue hire people are the same team that works at the campus services space, so you'll be communicating with the same people. And once you've had that, you know what event you want to run, and you know when you want to run it. Then you complete your event application. We approve it um, along with the risk assessments, and then you have to create your event on QPay on Rubric and create an event. So that's like selling your tickets there. Even if it's for free, just create it. You have to make sure that you capture information like what the student ID is, and contact information and domestic or internet, those sorts of things, the basic email and stuff like that. Once you've done that, then you can proceed with the event planning, food and beverage equipment, which just differentiates between what requirements you have if you're gonna have food at your events or whether you have alcohol. So in here, this is what the risk assessments look like. I know it's quite extensive, But with so we're currently working on as I mentioned in previous meetings, but also our council meetings. We're in the process of switching away from Rubric from QPay, and we're integrating it into our website. So a new CRM in our own website, which will um, shorten the entire process of application. So we're combining everything into one rather than you having to go to Rubric and then completing a separate Word document form. But in the interim, um, at least for this semester, we're doing all of these things. And this is what an event application looks like, which you might have already seen. But if not, well, this is what it looks like. So you don't complete when it comes to the RA. This is the first page. Don't write anything on the red table, the red colored table. That's only for office use. Only fill out the bottom bit, so the blue bit, where it tells you about your event name. Pretty straightforward how you would fill out a form. So like what your event is, what your society is. Are you planning to co-host an event with another group? So that if you're running, for example, a session with an external, like you're inviting them over to run an event, like a networking event, for example, then you write the name of the organization here. Ideally, you also write the name of the person from the external organization co-hosting your event in the event organizers list. So you gotta make sure identify so that way we know who's which is which. Um, so their contact details as well and what their position is. Um, Event staff committee, please make sure to put in how many of you are gonna organize the event. A lot of people forget to put this in and instead they just chuck him in the participant numbers. But we need to know how many people are gonna be managing your event. And then also participant numbers. You can put that separately outside of the number of, like you don't have to include the number of um, organizers into the total participant numbers, although it'll be helpful too, so we count them separately. So that we could tell, like, for example, if you're running alcohol events, we could then add that in and say, okay, well, do you need security or not based on the number of people you'll have, or whether you have enough crowd controllers for the number of people that you have, even if it's for a dry event, but it may or may not involve children, like something like that. You'll include that information in, whether it's on campus and whether it's a repeating event, like a reoccurring event. Um, if you have events that are reoccurring, like let's say you'll have multiple networking events throughout the year, but they're all going to be the same, feel free to submit it as a blanket risk assessment. And the way you apply for a blanket risk assessment just means you tick these two boxes right here on the right hand side and state how many days per week you're going to run this event and which dates or which days. If you haven't already locked in the specific dates for your event, just say like, oh, we'll run this every Tuesday every week for semester one. So if you say only semester one, then there are 13 weeks in semester one, so we'll multiply it by, and if it's one day a week, then it's 13 events. If it's two events, then we multiply it by two, and so that's 26, and you get approval for that. And all you have to do then separately is to book the spaces with campus services or venue hire office, depending on like if you've already locked in your dates. There's also this at the bottom again, food fairly straightforward, and alcohol. You can't have bring your own alcohol like BYO alcohol at events. This is a university policy, quite strict on this, so no BYO at your events on campus. If you're doing something like it's on a case by case basis, like off campus, but you need to make sure that you are compliant with the specific council laws, like in terms of like drinking at specific areas, whether you need to have permits or something like that too. With children, we do have a form for this in terms of like searching for parental permission, attendance forms, waiver of liabilities. Please remember that TUSA does not have insurance for under 16s. So our insurance only covers 16 and above. Um, so just please make sure to be mindful of that if you're going to have um, children at your events or families coming in with children on campus, and also have working with vulnerable people cards as well. The way working with vulnerable people cards work is they're different from a police check. So the working with vulnerable people registration is an ongoing assessment of a person's eligibility to work with vulnerable people. And it checks um, their criminal history, discriminatory police information, whereas a police check is only a snapshot of a point in time, and it only lists the current offenses from when that snapshot was taken or from when that request was taken. But a WWVP is basically something that we can verify online and check for ongoing stuff. So that way, you know whether a person be safe or not to attend on campus or for your events. Again, I already explained this about blanket risk assessments. You just make sure that you apply for it if you have something ongoing. It lessens the paperwork for you, but also makes it quick so you don't have to wait for us to continue to approve something if you've got something very similar happening. Now for your paperwork, this is basically the URL to get through to that. So if you're on your Rubric and you logged in, just click the forms at the top right, click that, and then the venue hire form and the risk assessment form is all in this page. If you can't see it, just click the view all on the right-hand tab there, and then you could see all the different forms that you can complete to make sure that yeah, that you can locate that stuff. You could use our TUSA venue hire form for a number of reasons, like for a number of things, including using it for outdoor events on campus, if you have alcohol events on campus, or if you want to hire a TUSA managed venue. So, but nowadays I'm seeing a lot of clubs use the UTAS contract for stalls and indoor events on campus. You are absolutely, it's okay to use that one. It's the same type of form, just different formatting. And you're fine to use that if you're already using that as a form to complete your bookings for your room. But this is something that we have for TUSA managed venues. So let's say our ref in Sandy Bay campus, if you want to use that, you have to use our TUSA venue hire form to hire our ref for events.